Previously on Anything Goes.
And we also, while you were in Toronto, we took out to the Underground Comedy Club last night.
Yeah,
which was such a different
awesome
vibe from, because I always like that show is very, people lock the doors, people were smoking joints and enjoying a comedy show. How do you find pot crowds compared to other crowds?
I find sometimes the comedians stick too much to pot material.
Yeah.
When it just seems like, hey, these guys are just high and want to laugh at stuff.
Right,
Like, I watch Family Guy when I'm high, but it's not all about being high.
Yeah.
So, but then everybody's like, well, it's a pot crowd. I want to do these pot jokes. Everyone, I don't know. So watching it for a comic, I'm like, come on, just do some regular shit.
Yeah.
It's true. Like, you do. Like, when I first did that room, I was like, I don't know. I don't have any pop material. I don't think I can do this. They're like, no, you don't have to have pop material. You just have to be funny.
Yeah.
And then I was, like, new to Toronto, and I hadn't been exposed to hanging out with Dave Martin, so I didn't smoke a lot of weed yet.
Hey, come on.
Last night it turned into sort of a roast for the
It was the owner's
But that
birthday.
stuff is, those rooms are crazy, because I had a 3-minute laughing fit on stage. I couldn't stop laughing.
That's so great.
And then everybody else was laughing, and I'm like, this is unprofessional.
Well, it's like they all know that you're high.
Yeah,
it's so
and
clear.
they think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like, go there, baby. Just enjoy it.
Those are some of my favorite rooms in Toronto.
And now, let's get to a new exciting show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready for some laughs? Are you?
Darren is angry, Dave is incorrect, and Kathleen can barely contain her disapproval. This is Anything Goes with Darren Frost.
How the fuck am I funny?
Dave Martin.
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
And Kathleen McGee.
And I'll execute every motherfucking last one of you!
Can you dig it?
It's just not my thing. That's the way the Rivoli was for me.
Yeah, but I think the Rivoli already sort of set sail around like the early 2000s anyways. I mean, like I said, once he started putting on like yuck sort of headliners that would just come and do their A shit and be like, hey, look at me, I'm a club comic and I'm killing in this room of, so it became an alternative room very, very, I think once the early 2000s hit. And nobody did it, and also then it became just a room to showcase for Lauren as well. So I mean, I think most of the sets that you're referring to, the Rivoli had already died at that point. So.
Yes, no, and but that's my point. Like when I moved to Toronto in '96, it was already moving away from that. Oh, this is where the Kids in the Hall performed every week, kind of Rivoli days, and I mean even near the end. I mean, obviously we have Comedy Monday nights in Calgary, but Spirits, even the last 5 years of Spirits I didn't like in Toronto because the audiences really laughed at who you were, not what you said. And I've never liked those kind of venues. It's like, okay, fine, everyone knows who I am. They're laughing at me because it's Darren being crazy. That doesn't help my career because when you play Mississauga the next week and they stare at you, they don't care if it's Darren or if it's Dave Martin. They just want to hear funny jokes.
Oh, well, I think they would care if it was those. If those were your two choices, I think they would care. But I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, Spirits was never supposed to do anything for your career. It was just an excuse to hang out and a place to maybe showcase just to have fun. Really, I mean, that's all.
Yeah, but people from all over the place knew about Spirits. It wasn't just Toronto rooms.
Right.
Yes.
But it turned into like more of just like a clubhouse for comedians. Like, after you did your shit show at the club on Wednesday night, you would go to Spirits and have an enjoyable set.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was your perspective. I was saying is that for like people from not Toronto,
right?
It was like really, it was the cool room, and they took it very seriously. It wasn't like a clubhouse for people who didn't live in Toronto.
Oh, well,
it was
I can't speak for those people.
Well, I know you can't, so I can.
I know.
But there were countless times I'd be out west and comics would come up to me and go like, how do you get on at Spirits? And can you put a word in for me? Because I really want to do it. And it's like, because it's like until you do a dumpy club, you don't know how dumpy it is. I'm not saying Spirits was a dump, but there's been comedy clubs, and I won't mention them, but I've never done them, or after the first time I did them, I'm like, this is a bit of a dump. Why do people think it's so great? It's just another comedy club. And, the same thing with Spirits. It was a clubhouse. It was great. Joanna was great. But at the end of the day, it was just another Wednesday night. But a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves to do it. And that's what happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's like if you were from out of town and you did comedy Monday night, you'd be like, in Calgary, you'd be like, wow, this is a great room, but it's just another room.
Right.
And even that, what was it, the ale house? What was it?
Empress? Yeah, Empress just closed.
Shut, yeah.
Oh, I know it's closed.
Yeah, the whole bar shut.
But I mean, and what was the place down the street from the Empress?
Black Dog?
Yeah, is that where I would have done a show? I think I did a show there.
Yeah, there's shows there. The only place that I've ever done a show, and it's been like still pretty dumpy, but it still was like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm doing a show here, is the Comedy Store for me. But that's just me personally. Right. Like I did a show at the Laugh Factory, and I was like, oh, this is just like the downtown Toronto yuck yucks. Yeah. Like it's kind of like tourists are here, and it's kind of like half empty, and like it was kind of exciting at first, but then you get up there and you're like, oh, I don't know what I was nervous about. It's just like any other club. But the Comedy Store, even doing the original room with like 2 tourists in the room, still felt really cool.
Yeah. Well, but that place, it really embraces its history too. And a lot of, I mean, Yuck Yucks doesn't really. I mean, they could do a much better job at promoting some of the younger comics and when I say younger, I mean like even like even a guy like Kenny Robinson or Darren or Nikki or Jason Rouse, put on some press. It's like, why are all the Now magazine covers with Yuck Yucks comics on the front of them at the office and not at the club? It's just they seem to want to embrace their early history of the 80s, but that's sort of it. And it's like it would be good for someone to go in and be like, oh, hey, look, there's Jason Rouse or Russell Peters. It's like, how come? I don't even know if there's a Russell.
They don't care. They don't look. Mark has his way. He books that place, and Yucks has their way. They don't care about that stuff. They really don't.
It should. Yeah.
I know, but like I always say about anyone outside of the comedy world, as soon as you start trying to apply real world thinking behind comedy, you're done. It's not. A lot of times, it's not run like a business. There isn't a lot of sense to it. It's just that's the way it is, and it doesn't make it right. But and when I
but
say
like the way.
Go ahead.
But like the way that the Comedy Store, like it's still kind of like, well, it's even busier now, but like it's still an honor to get your name written on the wall. Like it's something that comics strive for. It still means something to get on that stage. But now I feel like comics can get on any Yuck Yuck stage. Like they don't have to try like that hard to do it. So it's not as coveted. And then there's the whole section of comics that think that Yuck Yucks is an old joke and they think they're unprogressive and so they don't care about it. But like, yeah, it's just the Comedy Store is just like this weird, and I know it went through its kind of phase of not being popular or cool or anything.
Oh yeah.
But now it's like, I mean, like a lot of comics will give anything to have their name written on the side or to get regular spots there.
Oh, it went through a rebirth. There's no doubt about it, especially in the last 5 years.
And I think podcasting had a lot to do with it too, of just people doing live podcasts out of the Comedy Store and yeah, it gave the whole room a second boom. But
I think it also has to do with the fact that edgy, whatever kind of word you want to use for comedy, there was a whole target market that couldn't play the Improv or the Magic Castle or all those places because they were too dirty. And guys like Rogan and Ari, they kind of blazed that path there and needed a place. And people knew if that's what they wanted, that's where they could go. And they really helped rebuild that club for sure.
For sure. I was wondering, what do you guys think? At the beginning of the episode 14, the one that we just did with the three of us, Scott Thompson's at the beginning of it. And he sort of talks about the difference between real bullying and cyberbullying. And I know this was an interview that we did in like 2013 or something like that. So I know that the idea of cyberbullying has gotten a lot bigger and is more of a thing. But do you still feel that, like, because I mean, both you and Kathleen sort of agreed with the idea that real bullying is, I guess, more devastating than cyberbullying. But do you still feel the same way now?
I don't think so. I don't think I feel that way now because I think that a lot of people it can really, really affect them, and because it can be just people they don't even know bullying them, or just like, piling on top of them because of they made a mistake or they said something that a lot of people don't agree with. So people this whole society now is just like, let's find the next person to tell them that they're a stupid fucking idiot. Like it's all, I feel like that's all people do online anyway. But yeah, I mean, being bullied in real life is shitty, but I feel like doesn't happen as much anymore because I feel like that's become taboo.
I think bullying has always been taboo, but I mean, I think
it's even more because like in school, kids are like, I'm not a kid in school, but I hear that it's just not as kids are more likely to stand up for other kids nowadays and like say bullying is wrong, but then they'll go on and they'll cyberbully somebody. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I think it'd be nice if the sort of in-person bullying has gone away a little bit, but yeah, I almost think cyberbullying can be worse than the stuff in real life because I mean, and also I think once you get out of, like I'm talking about like a 13-year-old kid between 13 and 18 when you're in high school and middle school and stuff. That's when really.
I think that 2013, Darren, would agree that real bullying was worse. But now I think that cyberbullying is probably way worse. The reason I think that is because I think that bullying normally, like normal bullying, whatever you want to call it, a lot of that's one-on-one.
Yeah.
And no one else sees it. Like there are people that bullied me. They don't even think they bullied me. And no one else thinks that they bullied me because they never saw what happened. And I internalized that and I have a career based on it. But cyberbullying, the problem with that is it's public.
Right.
So, like you said, it can become a mob mentality very quickly, which normal bullying never actually really happened for the most part. And now that we're seeing how much, with social distancing and the pandemic has turned people even farther in on itself and being away from people and relying on social media, I think cyberbullying is far worse and far more devastating because I think that people don't think there's a way out because they think social media is here to stay. And thing that's out there on social media is going to be out there forever. Me getting thrown in a room with a raccoon only comes up when I talk about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that shit, I dictate who finds that out.
Was it a live raccoon?
Oh, yeah.
Was it a nice one or was it a mean one?
No, it was mean. It was bred to be mean.
Oh, was it bred to be mean?
Yeah, they love the fact that it attacked people.
Oh. Well, was it a pet raccoon that someone had?
Yeah, it was a pet raccoon. You know this story, Dave. I told it like that.
I know the story. I just never dove into with the details of it.
Yeah.
But just because...
The guy picked me up and threw me in his garage, and he threw his raccoon in after me, closed the door, and I ran around in the dark, and I couldn't do anything, and all I hear is and the raccoon
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Well,
it's so terrifying Dave is laughing. Look at him. Yeah. Talk about cyberbullying right there, Dave.
Oh, well, let's see, the thing is that people can dig up that old shit on you, and if you hadn't have reversed it and made it sort of... If the whole raccoon thing was a sword, and if you hadn't have picked up that sword and now you're using it, to defend yourself and to, like you said, make a career out of sort of the harm that came to you as a youngster. If you hadn't have done that, someone could find the story, from 5 years ago or 10 years from now, and then dig it up again and then humiliate you again online.
So not a lot of people know this part of this story, and then we've got Sue to come in, our guest, and maybe we'll talk later on more about this. But about 10 or 12 years ago, I'm playing Niagara Falls, and I'm middling for Kenny. And I do my show. Kenny does his part of the show. And then this guy walks up to me and goes, "Hey, man, remember me and my raccoon?" And I'm like, "What?" Actually, this might have been like 20 years ago, actually. I keep on dating myself. It was a long, long time ago. And I didn't remember until he said that, the whole impact of that story. And I ran to the bathroom, and I went in the stall, and I picked my feet up in the stall, and I waited for everyone to leave the comedy club. And then Kenny Robinson kicks open the bathroom door. He's like, Frosty, you in here?" And I just slowly put my feet down, and the door opens, and I'm just sitting there kind of like shivering. He's like, what's wrong? And so I tell him the raccoon story, and he's like, what the fuck? Let's go find that guy and kick the fuck out of him. I'm like, no, Kenny, it's fine. That's not fine. That story's horrible. That's terrible. But yeah, the guy fucking came to the show, and yeah.
Well, I mean, what was your exchange with the guy? Was it just...
I'm just like, he's remember me the raccoon? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I just left.
Oh, okay.
Gone.
You hadn't told that story on stage, though, had you?
Not at that point. That's why it's got to be 20 years ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was hired to perform for a bully's birthday from one of my junior high bullies by his wife. He didn't know.
Oh, wow. You know,
it ended up fine, but when I found out who it was, I was like, oh my God. This guy, like, literally I went home crying every day because of this guy. And then afterwards he was like, oh, you're so funny. So I just did their drugs and took their money and went home.
Well, there you go. It's silver lining.
Listen up out there. This is Sean Cullen, and you're listening to Darren Frost and Dave Martin's Anything Goes on Canada Laughs on Sirius XM.
That sounded great. Thank you.
Welcome back. Our guests today have been keeping a terrible secret from someone they love, and they're here today to get it off their chest. Now, this is John, who's ready to make a confession to his wife, Shannon. She's waiting right outside our studio, and she can't hear. So tell us, John, what will your confession be?
I had an affair with our babysitter.
All right. Okay. So, how old is your babysitter?
Now?
Yes.
She's 20 now.
Please. How old was she when you had the affair?
18.
Okay. How long have you been married?
Almost 12 years now.
Okay. And how old is your child?
I have 2.
Okay. And they are?
4 and 9.
4 and 9. Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's bring out now your wife, Shannon. Okay. Here's Shannon. Shannon, why do you think there's trouble in the relationship?
We're both working odd hours. He's working, I work early in the morning, he works late at night. He's a little resentful of the fact that my brother's been living with us for the last 2 years. And we just tend to not want to talk things through and explode, and it's communication we need to work on.
I think it may be more than communication, according to what John's telling us. Well, John, go. If you're choosing, I'm not here to tell you to choose this format to do it. If you choose this format, that's all your business. But go ahead.
A couple of years ago, I slept with our babysitter.
Hey, stop it. Hey, stop it. Come on.
Sorry, man.
Shh. Okay. Hey, please settle down. Come on, guys.
I mean, lie to you like that.
I don't even know what to say to you.
I just wanted to be honest. I wanted to tell you.
A really great way to start.
I couldn't keep it a secret any longer. Sorry, babe.
Why would you take till now to do it? And I have to ask you again, which is the question, frankly, which boggles my mind as we do shows like this, is why would you choose a television show to tell your wife something so intimate?
A little safer, maybe.
Safer? Oh.
I don't know.
Did you have any inkling? Did you have any inkling about what he was doing with the babysitter?
I don't even understand where this is coming from.
Do you know which babysitter this is? Have you had like one regular one?
Not for 2 years. My brother's been with us.
So this was how many years? This was 2 years ago? Do you remember who the babysitter was?
Jesus, no.
Well, she's here.
Oh, my God.
And her name is Cindy.
No.
Okay, and here is Cindy.
So before we get into what we asked you to be on the show for, so you're a teacher now, right?
Yes, I'm a high school teacher. I work in alternative education.
Right.
So I work with the kids that regular high schools don't want.
Okay.
And I'm not just a co-op teacher, but I also teach like advanced, like university level English to them.
Right.
Because a lot of these kids get underrated and don't get put through the proper programs in school. And then when we get them and find out that they're actually really smart, then I take over with them.
So would your school also concentrate on the trades?
Yes, I put a lot of kids in trades.
Right.
I work with a lot of community organizations in Hamilton. One of them is the Threshold School of Building.
Mm-hmm.
It's a community program where the kids get accepted in the program. They have to not be in regular school. They have to have disadvantages. They have to have, maybe a learning disability or something. And it's a 12-week construction program where they get paid regular wage. They learn every aspect of construction, and they end up usually getting jobs. And if they're my student and go in, they get probably about 5 credits out of it.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Because in Alted, we don't have gym classes. We don't have shop classes. We don't have, we do cooking classes with them. But I don't think that's going to happen in September.
So are you going to go back in September? Like, are you physically, your school is open?
I'm going back in September. I do not want to continue as a co-op teacher in September because that's going to put me out in too many places. But I'd be more than happy to sit in my classroom with my 12 anxious kids and my dog and do my thing.
Right.
Your dog gets to be there?
He does. He's a school dog.
That's so cool. Why doesn't every school have a school dog?
Too many objections. When you work in alternative education, you kind of get to slide under a lot of things. And I don't work in a school building. I work in I work in an office building. So I can do whatever the hell I want, really.
So is it like a trained dog, or it's just the dog is safe?
He's
like
my dog.
He's your dog.
He's grown up going to school. He gets it. He just loves being a school dog. He encourages kids. He helps anxious kids. He's all kinds of fun.
Right.
Now, have you thought about spending that extra $23 and just getting him a harness that says service dog on it?
Well, apparently I could order one off of Amazon and not have to spend a lot of money. But he's going to go in November. He's enrolled in St. John's ambulance training.
Oh, okay.
So
what kind of a dog is he?
He's a Woodle.
What's a Woodle?
A Woodle is a Wheaton and a Poodle.
Oh, okay.
That is very hypo, right? That's a hypo dog for sure?
Yeah, here he is at work. I don't know if you'll ever be able to see that, but...
there he is!
Yes!
Oh my God, he's
really
so cute!
Really cute.
Now, did he choose that tie? I mean, that seems like... I don't know, I would have... Especially if he's going to be taken seriously as a service dog.
He also picketed with us when we were having our little problems with Doug Ford earlier in the year.
Yep.
Yeah, he wore his red T-shirt and he picketed the line. He was a good boy.
Well, I mean, you can call me old-fashioned, but I think dogs and cats should be allowed to pick their own political party. But if you feel that you want to place that onto your own dog, I mean, that's up to you.
Well, I look at him as free therapy in school, right? Doug wasn't willing to pay for that, so I brought it in for free.
Yes, good for you.
I think that's. Do you find that are there more people that are looking into going into trades rather than I mean, you get out of college or university, and if you just have some philosophy degree, it's it's great because you can question your own existence, but that's it.
I work with the kids that nobody wants, and I will throw those kids into trades like a gang kid. You give me a gang kid who loves to eat, loves to cook, and I'll say, hey, I'll find you a new gang and introduce them to a kitchen. at a local restaurant and say, try this gang for a change, and give them a career. But
I don't want to see any shootings.
They're pushing university like nobody's business.
I know. I have 3 boys. I would be very happy if all 3 said, I want to be a plumber, an electrician, a mechanic, because those jobs are going nowhere compared to some of these jobs that they're going to go to university for.
I just had a whole cement job done in the front of my house, and the guy told me afterwards, if you know a kid who does carpentry, I need a guy making forms.
Yeah.
And I messaged the kid, now he has a job.
Right. Wow. Yeah, now, do any of your students know that you're a TV celebrity, or do they not know?
They did for a while, and it was very awkward at parent-teacher meetings when kids kept yelling at their parents, this is my teacher, she was on Springer! And the parents would be like, what the fuck is this kid doing teaching my child? And I'd be like, no, it was a hoax, it's okay, I'm right. Don't worry.
And then you just fake cried until it went to break, or?
Oh, I can still cry on command. Not right now. But
those commercial breaks during the school
meetings, for sure.
What were you thinking, like, when you were on stage, like, because you were so great, like, you were everyone was devastated for you.
Oh yeah, I even made the makeup lady cry, apparently. According
so how did it all start? I mean, we talked to Johnny and Minnie to get their side.
I got brought in late. So Johnny and I, for a couple of years, had worked on a sketch comedy show that we had on like cable.
Yes.
Called Steel City Lingerie.
Yeah, based out of Hamilton. Right.
And I guess Shannon Laverty came home, and she was roommates with Ian and Johnny at the time. And they were like, oh, we just pulled this shit, and we give him your name. And she was like, fuck you guys, I'm out.
Yeah.
And so Johnny's like, I'll call Sue. And he called me and basically put it to me as, we kind of need you to do this thing. And I said to him on the phone, I remember saying something along the lines of, well, you keep asking me to do shit, but I never get anything out of it. And he said, how about, dinner and a trip to Chicago? And I was like, fuck, that's great. Okay, I'll do it.
Right.
And then I became the wife.
Right.
And they had to get the producer to call me. And I told Johnny that I didn't want to be so low class, that I was like the bitch that sanitized the bowling shoes at the bowling alley. I wanted to be something a little more upper crust.
Right.
What did the producer say to you? Because obviously they're not going to tell you why they were bringing you on. What did they say that they were bringing you on for?
Okay, so I don't know if Minnie and Johnny told you. The guy's name was George Washington.
No.
The producer?
The producer was George Washington.
Of course he was.
He got fired after we had our business with him. But
no.
George Washington, he was lovely. Gave us a $3 bill. His coat matched his socks. He was something else. He phoned me and told me that Jerry Springer's show was like Oprah. That they were going to have a bunch of counselors and people there to talk to us about our relationship problems.
Right. I just want to step in and just say this was like 1996.
Yeah.
So Jerry Springer hadn't gone completely batshit crazy yet.
No, not yet.
Well, he also wasn't on prime time yet. Let's be clear. He was on at 11 a.m. and 2 a.m.
Right.
So the only people watching him were students, like people without jobs, and nursing mothers, literally.
Yeah. So the show hadn't sort of completely jumped the shark yet, as far as being like. Because sort of now it's sort of like they don't really sort of try to pass the show off as a real thing, and they're all very sort of like, we don't know what's real, we don't know what's not real. But back when you did it, they still were like, these are real people, real stories.
Oh, real integrity.
They tried to make it authentic as they could.
Johnny and I knew right up that the kids that came on before us on the show were just there for a lark.
Yeah.
They knew why they were there. They were pretending. They were very open about pretending. We were still trying to keep it under wraps. And then the couple that came on after us, they were really those people. There was twins that had been screwing the same woman.
Yeah.
She was pregnant, and good Lord knows they put them in the same sweater. It was just a shit show.
Yeah.
The same sweater.
Now, we dressed them alike. Oh.
So I just want a quick question. At this time, I'm not sure if it was Minnie or Johnny had said that were you dating someone and you'd recently broken up, so that's why you got that upset, or is that just not true?
No. I hadn't been dating anybody seriously for a while at that point. I was at Ryerson doing my degree in radio and television arts.
Well, because I remember that time, and I don't remember that you were dating someone that kind of long either. So I'm like, well, that might be true. You just didn't really talk about it.
Fancy free, I was, yeah.
Right,
but you know that we practiced. We didn't know how they were going to bring us out, like in what order and how they would do it, and we practiced. And I could not cry to save my life.
Okay.
When we did the practicing. And then me getting to Chicago was a shit show. And I was so frustrated by the time I got there. And I think I'd headed my hair red. And when I wrapped it up in a towel after having a shower, Johnny was like, "We got to hide the towels. They're going to know we're fake." Because it all leaked out into the towels.
Right.
But was it being in front of the crowd that kind of like helped you get emotional?
Sure, yeah. Because they were like, you can't tell how close they were to you. They were right in front of you.
Yeah, Minnie said the same thing.
And then I'm looking at all these faces. Every time I talked, everybody was like, oh. And I'm like, wow. So you just cry.
Go ahead, dude.
Oh, I was just going to say, did you ever get a feeling of like how much the audience thought it was real, or did you ever sort of get the feeling like they're in on the joke too, but like they were sort of they were taking the bait as well?
Well, one of the things that Jerry Springer said was, "I don't know why you choose this format to tell this to your wife." And what they cut out of it, because it's highly edited, what you've seen was Johnny said in response, "Your producer told me there would be support here and it would be safer for her." But they cut that out of the thing.
The final, right.
And all that got out of Johnny was a little safer, maybe. Right? So
have you ever seen so supposedly there's a master tape that you guys all got during the lawsuit, and it shows the whole edit. There's no edits at all. It's just one long master shot of the whole show, and there's supposedly a copy of that. Have you ever seen that?
I have.
Right.
It was a beta. Yeah. And I think the last time I saw it, I lived in Kingston, and that had to be 99.
Right. So you cry on stage. Of course, it's crazy. My favorite part is during the commercial break, they walk you down a hallway. You know, Johnny's or maybe it's after the show, and Johnny's like smacking his head like, I'm an idiot. So the show's over. What do they do with you and Johnny? Do they split you
up? Put us in a room, like an office. And Johnny was like ready to high five me. He was doing this, and I pointed at the phone console, and I went, I was like they could be listening to us through the phone.
Right.
So we just continued fighting and crying and screaming and crying for like half an hour. And then they finally let somebody in to have somebody come and talk to us about getting us a therapist.
Right.
Which, of course, Mark Breslin immediately volunteered to be that therapist.
Right.
And for them to come up and film us in therapy. And Mark Breslin was like, yes, we need to do this. And I was like,
that would have been actually quite funny.
Yeah. It would have been great if it would have been amazing if Mark Breslin was the therapist.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
So did you get any notoriety?
Go ahead.
Did you get any notoriety out of it? Did you get any credits out of it?
Happened to me, like I'd get in a cab and the cab driver would look at me and go, "Lady from Jerry Springer," and I'd be like, "I want out of the cab right now." And I went with a friend into a bar, and a whole bunch of university kids were sitting at a table, and they all stood up and pointed at me and started screaming, and I was like, "Let's get the fuck out of here!"
Right.
So I guess you were never really at a point where you could really embrace that sort of fame and.
Oh, it's a fun party story now for me.
Right.
Well, oh, I remember that. Oh, that was you.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was sort of like the three of us sort of said when we interviewed Johnny and Minnie that like nowadays if people do a prank like that on a show that people can almost that will jumpstart a career into who knows what.
No, we were so ahead of our time.
Yeah. But also,
somebody the hoaxes, we were just so ahead of our time. But you know what? Now I have a pension, so I don't know how I feel about it.
Right.
Yeah. You, in the long run, you won. But I think, and we talked about this with Johnny and Minnie, that I'm so surprised that they haven't done anything with this story. You know, whether there's been a documentary behind the scenes.
True. I thought Ian was going to be on, but at one point when Ian was doing his show on CTV, he got CTV to
we will talk to Ian about that. But what I'm saying is there hasn't been like even just a documentary about it, because it is something that was so major, and it's a break, like it's almost like it's like Nirvana, in my opinion. It's like before Nirvana, after Nirvana for our generation. Same thing with television. Before that Springer thing and after that TV was never the same. And I still am surprised, and I know that you guys tried to do shows afterwards, and you all eventually went your separate ways. But when was the last time you saw anyone from the show, of the four?
I saw Ian a couple of years ago. He came to Hamilton to do some comedy. Just like I almost saw you when you were at Yuck Yucks, but I did actually see Ian a couple of years ago. But I mean, I'm friends with everybody on Facebook, so I know what everybody's up to, but I don't see anybody.
Right. When did you leave kind of show business and make a life in the kind of real world? You know what I mean?
I moved to Kingston shortly after Springer, and I was in Kingston. I was running a comedy festival. I was running concerts. I was doing things for the Fort Henry. I was running things like putting the Tragically Hip in there and stuff like that. And then cities amalgamated, and they had an excess of staff, so they got rid of everybody who was on contract. And I was like, now what the fuck do I do?
Right.
So I was like, oh, I got 3 university degrees. I'll go to teacher's college.
Right.
And get some braces in my 30s.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I'll do.
Right.
What's it like to have braces in your 30s? Like now we have Invisalign, but did you have like the real, like the braces?
I had a whole big fucking drill going on. I was shredding the inside of my lips. It was sucked.
Yeah, no, those were the ones that I had too. Yeah, the barbed wire ones.
Yeah, you don't see headgear anymore. Remember headgears?
Oh God,
from the 80s, like the whole contraption. You don't remember that?
What's in my headgear? Yeah.
Oh man, it was horrible if someone had that.
No, there's been many advances in orthodontistry since then.
Well, we got just a couple more minutes. Is there anything that you remember or you want to even say to anyone or to any of the four? We're going to talk to Ian soon.
I just think the world needs to know that Johnny and I, once we got back to the hotel, they felt so bad about us that they were like, they'd given us a per diem, and they were like, go back to the hotel, have a beautiful dinner. It's on us.
Right.
And a restaurant had just opened. Johnny and I got shit-faced on like the most expensive like scotch you could get.
Right.
And we had the pastier bring us an entire boat made out of sugar that we ate. And we got on the phone, ripped and like just hyped out on sugar, and found the hotel that Minnie and Ian were at and got them to meet us at the Kingston Mines, which was a real blues club as opposed to a nice blues club.
Right.
And I do believe Minnie and I sang on stage with Chick Corea that night. It was ugly.
That'd be hilarious if there had been somebody in the studio audience that happened to be there and they're like, oh, they all made up.
Well, now, did you
Johnny and I also didn't want to stick around the hotel because the couple that was the wife and her husband who was the twin, they were staying at our hotel.
Right.
And we did not want to run into them.
Right.
Now, how much did you feel like you had to keep up appearances once you'd left the show, or was it did you just feel like?
Well, it's funny. I was living at the time with 2 guys who were working in comedy, and I had told them, you have to remember, back in those days, you had an answering machine.
Right.
And so I had changed the message on our answering machine. We were lucky enough to have one that you could press one button to get me, one button to get Kirk, one button to get Troy. And I had changed the whole message to sound like you had reached me at work, which was a paralegal office. And we had to leave it like that for a month. And my roommates were just like, could you just stop already? And I'm like, it hasn't got on TV yet. We can't change anything.
So I didn't know that.
So the worst thing for me is my father was the editor of the Hamilton Spectator newspaper.
Right.
And the night before it aired, I had to go in that day and explain to him what I'd done. And I thought he was going to kill me. And he just literally opened up his door and yelled for a reporter and a photographer and was like, I'm not getting fucking scooped on this. Go tell them everything.
Oh, that's great. I like that.
That's awesome.
So that's when your father first found out, the night before it aired?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how he
so
reacted.
that was...
And my mother kept telling everybody that I was on a completely different show.
Montel Williams?
No, it was, what was it called? I'll never remember right now.
Sally Jesse Raphael?
Sleeping in. Yeah.
Now, did you get any sort of backlash once the show did air, or did...
Well, there wasn't social media back then. There was stuff appeared in magazines. It is a very weird thing to get on the subway and see your face on the front cover of every newspaper in Toronto or in the country for that matter. Right. And everybody loved it. The only backlash we got was we got sued.
Right.
But yeah, and that ended up going away because some poor sucker got shot by yeah.
Oh, the Jenny Jones story, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
By Jenny Jones, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it kind of took the heat off you guys for sure, that lawsuit.
Well, Jenny Jones didn't shoot anybody. There was someone on the show.
No, but it definitely eclipsed that lawsuit for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of those shows had to stop pretending like they were legit.
Right.
And you're right, Darren. There was a big change in television at that point.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that sometimes...
I know that we sent them $10 worth of pennies. They wanted to settle for like $10. We sent them $10 worth of pennies and done.
Well, I think it might have been a bit embarrassing for some of the producers there that they sort of got punked by you guys. And...
Oh, a lot of people got fired, I imagine. I know George Washington got fired.
And his replacement was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Now, if they ever do a movie version of this, who do you think the actors or actresses for the four should be?
Oh my. Well, see, if you had asked me that right after we'd done it, when I was still 26.
Well, you've got the 26 you now.
But now I don't even know anybody's name.
Right.
Somebody with a gorgeous nose would have to play Johnny.
I feel like Jay Baruchel could be Johnny.
Yes.
Somebody with the nasally, creepy voice would have to play Ian. Maybe small, like Selena Gomez could play Minnie. God,
well, I think Minnie
Goldust could play Minnie.
No, I think Minnie could still play Minnie.
Like probably, I don't know, whoever is the current star of any awkward teen movie right now.
Right.
Well, I think Minnie could still probably play Minnie. So.
Yeah, probably.
Hey, this is Christopher Titus. You are listening to Anything Goes on XM Radio. And it actually is radio and really not anything goes. But we get close.
If you just joined us, this is a show where people are telling someone in their relationship, someone they're married to, someone they love, a best friend, that some terrible secret that they've been cheated on. We have just had John tell his wife, Shannon, that one, he cheated on her, and two, that his infidelity was with their babysitter. And she is here now. Cindy, why don't you come on out? Okay. All right. Okay, Cindy. Cindy, the reaction of the crowd is because, which can't be that surprising, John has just told his wife that he has been unfaithful to her, that while you were babysitting their child, I mean, during that period of time, that you two had an affair. Is that true?
Well, I wouldn't really call it an affair.
Okay, tell me what happened.
Well, we accidentally slept together.
Okay. Well, tell me about. Okay. Sure. All right. Tell me. Easy. Well, tell me about. You say accidentally. How did it happen?
Well, it certainly wasn't, anything I ever thought would happen or was going to happen.
Okay. How did it happen? Go ahead.
Well, I used to babysit for them.
Yes.
And one night after I had babysat, he was working the night shift, so he drove me home. And because it was cold out, and we were sitting in the car, and we were talking, and then we just started kissing. And
Okay. Anything you want to say to Shannon, his wife?
Shannon, I know I can't take back what I've done, but I never meant to hurt you or your family. That's the only reason I came here, was to clear it up. And let you know it's not an ongoing thing. It's just something that happened, and I regret it deeply. I like his children very much. My mother knows her.
John, what do you want to say? And then Shannon.
I'm really sorry, babe. I'm March, and that's what I want to tell you now. We want this to work, we want it.
Oh, yeah. Relationships based on honesty and trust, John. And if I can't trust you, and you can't be honest with me.
I want to be honest, that's why I'm doing it. You know. I love you, babe.
Jerry,
Really.
The what?
he still phones me. He shows up at my work at least once a month. Yes, it is true. Yes, it is true, and you know it.
I made contact her a couple times.
And what do you contact her about?
I still.
Wow, I love you.
Oh, I've never said that. I've never said that.
You're such a liar.
No.
I don't want anything to do with them. Me or my boyfriend. I've been going out with a guy for a year now. I told him the story because this is before it happened. It's just something that happened when I was younger that I regret. We don't want anything to do with them. He comes into my work, he phones, he's hanging up on me, hangs up with my boyfriend, talks to me, let's go out for coffee, I still love you. You guys
I've never said that. I've never said that.
Yeah, right.
Ian is your current boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay, here's Ian. Oh, hey, okay. No. What's your take on all this, Ian?
I came around after all this happened, and I just want this guy out of our lives.
How do you think he's still in your life?
Because he calls my house all the time. If I answer the phone, he hangs up.
John, why
do you know
calling
me? I mean, that's
call display, you idiot.
Hey.
And that's why we got
Sure. Okay, hold on.
Look at him in the dark. He looks like he's in the witness protection program.
Wow. Holy shit. Okay. All right. Can you hear us again? Just blink 3 times if you're okay. Remember Mike Bullard's old joke? Just 3 times. Blink 3 times.
No. Yeah, don't do Mike Bullard jokes that reference a hostage situation.
Yeah.
Probably would not be the wisest thing.
Yeah. All right. Can you hear us, Ian?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. So we just finished with Sue. She was a little tipsy. She was having a good time. So we know the majority of the backstory, but for what I wanted to know, when they were on stage, just a couple, Johnny and Sue, you and Minnie, were you together backstage, or were you separated from the start?
I think we were separated, but we were in the green room together, and then they kind of marched us over to, and you know what? They marched to this door, and they took us one at a time, and then entered another door, and then the door entered the studio. So, like, we waited outside those two doors, I think, if I remember correctly.
Were you able to see the whole thing? Were you able to see what was going on before you went on stage?
No.
So you never saw her cry. You didn't see her cry until you went out?
Yeah. Well, I saw her crying, and I knew it was going to work because she was crying. And
I asked Sue this question, but what did the producers say to you to get you on the show?
I had to talk them into putting me on the show because I wanted to go because like it was kind of like I started it, so like I had to go. So we convinced them that Minnie wouldn't go unless her boyfriend could go too. So they made me part of the story.
I love the fact that you were just sort of like, oh, I want to. You all just did it for fun from the beginning. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it was nuts. But I mean, like we never thought it was gonna. I was just more scared about it, like not getting caught than realizing what we were doing. Really.
Well, it's funny, you know, most comics worry about crossing the border, getting caught. You got to worry about crossing the border, then while you're there, then after. It was like, you know, a good month-long worry.
Well, I got caught with Johnny once crossing the border in the United States. And I had weed on me. And because I had a book that said my dates. My working dates in the States. So they detained us and they were about to question us, and the Clinton's picture was in the waiting room, and I was like, turned to Johnny, I was like, don't worry, it's gonna be all right. Right? And he's like, right? And he went into the room, and then he said he heard me laughing in the room, and then he knew, like, we were used to like fucking around, so you know, fun, you know.
How old were you when it was all going on? Like, what's your?
Remember, like, how long ago was that?
Well, it's 96.
I was in my 30s for sure. Like 96?
Yeah.
No. Was it 96?
96.
Yeah.
96.
Yeah. 25 years ago. 24 years ago.
My early 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
did they threaten you? Like, did you, at any point, did you think of any sort of like, were there any legal papers that you ever had to sign saying this is a real, genuine story?
Yes, in the green room.
Oh, okay.
They made us all sign those papers, and we all looked at each other and didn't know what to do. And I kind of like signed like smudgy. I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So, because I keep thinking that if you did get in any sort of trouble, like what could the charge possibly be? I mean, and that doesn't seem like defrauding a TV show or something?
Yeah, and libel. We lied. And But to be honest, I wanted to go all the way to the Supreme Court, whatever it took, because I wanted to joke out all the way.
Yeah. Beat it to death, yeah.
But was there ever was there ever a time where you all talked about that? And you don't have to name names, but not everybody was on board with that? Like some people were like, let's leave it alone?
No, a couple people were worried about their careers and getting into the United States, which was totally understandable, and that's why we settled, really, because two of us wanted to keep going and two of us did it.
Right.
Well, I can figure out which two of you probably wanted to keep going and which two didn't, but that's the sort of funny thing now.
Maybe not.
But that's the thing. That's sort of like now. It's like if you have done something. As we mentioned this to Sue and to Johnny and Minnie, that people could springboard a prank like this into a career, but without social media back then, like even Sue mentioned that Jerry Springer itself was only on at like 11 a.m. and at 2 a.m. And sort of like you had to watch the show at that moment to see you guys, and you couldn't share the clip anywhere. It's sort of like there wasn't that ability anymore. So, or at that point.
But it was so huge when it broke that I don't think we were prepared. I never thought it was going to be such a big deal. Never.
Right.
That big a deal. I mean, we were on 2020 and Dateline. Like,
I know.
A radio show there was. And we got, like, the first 2 days after the story broke in the newspaper, we stayed up because every radio station wanted to speak to us. All in North America, every single one wants to speak to us. I could have never predicted this. And then we did a show, but we weren't prepared. We didn't really have material. If I would have known in hindsight it was such a big deal, I would have prepped like us.
Right.
Bigger deal.
Yeah, I mean, if it would have happened now, even at the level of your comedy back then, like the three of you could have went on a tour, you, Johnny, and Minnie, and just did a show.
Yeah,
and you could have went right to theaters right away because it was that big of a show and story.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone mentioned it, but one of my favorite things was the wardrobe. I don't know if anyone how they would.
I never saw your part on it. Like I've seen because I've only seen the part that's on YouTube, and you're not on that, so I don't even know what your reaction was or what you were wearing or anything.
Oh no, not my wardrobe, but like so they have 3 segments, right? So they let us be who we were. But they changed the clothes of other people on the show. So, for example, they had these twins that were in love with the same girl.
Yes.
And they weren't lying. They were real. And they put them in matching sweaters.
Yeah.
Dressed like that. They just, manipulated it, put them in matching sweater. And there's the young group after us, they kind of slutted up the girls. Right. And then put there. It was kind of interesting how they manipulated everything.
Well, that's funny that they would make them in matching sweaters. I mean, so we feel empathy for the guy to be like, hey, well, who can blame them? I mean, yeah, they're twins. Yeah. Who can blame the guy? I mean, hey, if you're all dressed up like that, who can?
It's a simple mistake. It's a simple mistake.
Yeah,
anyone would do that.
We've all done that.
Matching sweaters. Come on, matching sweaters. I'd fuck either one, too.
yeah, they're twins, but one's a guy, one's a girl. I fuck both.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're fraternal, but whatever. It's all family.
It's all DNA. It's all DNA when it goes in there.
Yeah. And then so it's like, do you have copies of the 2020 or the Dayline shows that came out, or?
Nah, I don't even have a copy of the Springer thing.
Oh, I do. I'll send it to you. I can send it to you.
I know Minnie does, but I don't.
Well, we show most of it on the episode, and we'll show it on this episode as well, and we'll rerun it on this episode. But on the episode that Johnny and Minnie were on, there's the clip we show all of it, basically, and you have a great shirt on it. You have a very 90s shirt. And it's like this weird silk, and I think it's done up to the buttons, and very
Chinese collar, the asshole collar.
Yes. Well, I think Montel Williams made those famous, too. I think he had a brand shirt that was just like that. But yeah, you have a very flowing, almost borderline pirate shirt in the sleeves. And then the collarless button-up one. And then Johnny looks,
We aged him.
They aged him?
Yeah. No, we did.
They did.
The haircut. Because Johnny does not look good. I mean, Johnny looks better now for some reason than he did then.
That was planned. He was supposed to look bad, and Sue's supposed to look completely like the poor little housewife that does little house on the prairie, doesn't know what's happening going on thing. And Minnie was supposed to be the vixen, and we didn't even have to change our clothes because we knew how to dress for our parts.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I know long flowing.
So are you admitting that you were into Mandarin collars and billowy blouses? that was a personal choice?
It was for my asshole look.
Yeah, and then you would just undo the button for the un-asshole look. That was also one of the other.
That was business, but I could be, getting you chip and taking you out to the sea.
So I always, I talked to Johnny and we talked to Minnie and to Sue, and I always kept on kind of harping on the same thing, that I'm still surprised that nothing was ever done with this. I know that you at one point tried to get something done with CTV and it never took from their point of view, but even like a documentary about it, do you think it's possible that you might revisit and try to do something? Because I still think, especially now with Netflix doing these true crime and true TV shows, I think it's something that could easily be a 4 or 6 part, not just a doc, but a reenactment type thing.
Yeah, I mean, beats telling jokes at a drive-in.
Yeah.
Have you done drive-in shows?
Yeah, I'm about to do my second one.
What's it like? What's it like?
You feel like you're being heckled because they're honking when they're supposed to be laughing, right? But they're not. Their timing's weird.
Right.
They'll be honking through your setup or your next joke. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, I'm not Yeah, I can't do it. More power to you.
Yeah,
I
it
can't
seems
do
like
it.
I almost refer to it as like it's like doing a Zoom show. It's sort of like, it's like, why do you want to try to get better at something that you were never supposed to do in the first place? Nobody ever saw comedians and thought, I can't wait till I do a drive-in show. I want to get really good at that. But I mean, I get it. A gig's a gig. But
I wish they were like get out of their cars and watch.
Yes.
That'd be
Yeah, like just sit in a specific space and be outside in lawn chairs, so at least you can hear something or see their faces.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is I don't care so much about the laughter. Look at my career, but if you can't see their faces, it is kind of weird. That's the part for me where I can't see any acknowledgement. That'd be a tough thing to
that and the honking.
Yeah.
Now, were you ever contacted by the Springer Show again? Once it was sort of, I mean, there was the lawsuit, but I mean, no one's ever tried. Because I mean, I'm sure there must be other stories of other people going and pranking other shows. But also, sort of, I mean, I said to Johnny when we first did the show that I thought you guys kind of changed television in a way because you guys sort of allowed shows to sort of do that whole, well, it's all bullshit now. Don't worry about it. And we
opened Pandora's box for sure. We opened the box. Like we were trying to expose them. Like once we figured out what was going on, like really quick, we were like, let's expose them. Let's have fun with this and show them. Like let's just answer yes to every single question they ask us. Let them create this story, salacious story, and then expose them at the end that they pushed this into all of this. And that's what we did. And then after that, it was like, well, now anything goes. Nobody cares that it's bullshit, right? Nobody cared.
Was there any interaction between Steve Wilkos and you guys?
He was the bodyguard. He was this. I think he pep talked me like, you're gonna really let Johnny have it when you go out there. I think.
Oh wow, okay.
Is he as dreamy in real life as he is on TV?
Tell us, Ian, please. Is he as dreamy? Yeah.
He's no Springer.
Okay, so we just got about 2 minutes left because I know that you have to go, Kathleen. But was there any, when you got home, was there any blowback? I mean, we asked each person that same question. There was no real blowback for you for doing the show, right? Other than that lawsuit?
Yeah, I mean, a few comedians, just typical, were angry that we did it.
Yeah, because they didn't do it.
Well, yeah, and they gave us a hard time about it. Actually, a little inside story. We only told one reporter. It was a comedian that ratted us out and told Jim Slotek at the Toronto Sun.
See, what's crazy now is that you probably nowadays you would probably rat yourself out and say
we did rat ourselves out, but he ratted us out to the other newspaper when we wanted to control the whole thing.
Right.
Told Jim Slotek.
Who was it?
Don't worry, nobody's watching.
He worked on Rick Mercer's report for a long time.
Okay. Let's 5 people.
Oh,
okay.
I know.
and that will be it. All right, thanks, Ian. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Good to see you.
Turn this into something, Ian. I'm serious. I think it's something that has to be done. And
why don't you put it together? Because we're lazy comics, and you'll be part of it.
I don't even know what to say to these people. I've known her for 6 years, and I thought she was a much better person than this, and I am really disgusted in you, Cindy. I
Just let it take her.
I don't even know how to even begin with John.
Don't end it. If you're smart.
He took advantage of her. He was a kid. That's not true. He fed her beer.
What?
He fed her beer. He fed a young girl under the drinking age beer.
No worry. Oh, I tell you what. We'll take a break. We'll come back. There's more to talk about here. Stay with us.
You
I'm still seeing your brother.
You are?
Yes.
Don't even talk to me, John. Don't talk to me. Don't you dare expect me to feel sorry for you right now. I don't give a how you feel. Don't.
I just let you take off with the kids and never see you again.
I don't want to discuss it right now.
Now back to the show. Assuming that no one is going to think that either what you did, John, or what Cindy did was appropriate, there are those who will say, in this guilt, and there's enough to go around here, in this guilt, though, you were clearly an adult male. She was still a teenager, 18 years old. Certainly, more of the responsibility has to lie with you. You know, at 18, you can be very impressionable, and you could have taken advantage of her. Emotionally, you did. I'm not suggesting rape or anything else. I'm saying emotionally, you took advantage of an 18-year-old girl. Her judgment may have been lousy, but
she was coming on to me. That's the thing. That's how
she's a child. In fairness, she's a child, and you can say to a child,
she was 18 years old.
Okay, and you couldn't say, no, this isn't appropriate.
At the time, things weren't that great in our marriage.
Tell me about at the time. Tell me about what was going on at the marriage at that time.
Just constantly fighting. We worked different shifts, hardly saw each other.
Did you ever suspect him of being unfaithful? I mean, I'm not talking with Cindy. I mean, just in general. Did that ever cross your mind during the bad times of the marriage? Did you ever say, boy, I wonder, you know, he's working a different shift. He's not home when I'm home. I wonder if something's going on. He's home late tonight. I wonder if he's out with anybody. Did that ever come up?
He has a couple of friends that aren't married, and I don't trust them because they just like to go out and have a lot of fun. But they understand the sanctity of marriage, which...
We just want him out of our life. That's all we want.
What's wrong with you? He's married. You're 18 years old and you're sleeping with him?
I'm 20 now.
I don't care how the hell old you are. You're an idiot.
Shannon, I don't... Can you conceive of the time that you could forgive him? I'm not suggesting you forgive him right now. You just found out. But
We've been working so hard to try to put our problems behind us.
That's why I'm wanting to get this out.
Oh.
Okay. Let's take a break.
Hi, this is K. Trevor Wilson. You're listening to Anything Goes with Darren Frost on XM Radio's Laugh Attack. Keep laughing.
Yeah.
But you guys can if you want. You can chit chat. Oh, yeah. You can just chit chat together.
Yeah. Are you working?
Talk about
Dave's
Dave's Subway. Me, I'm going to Comedy Monday night.
You're what? Oh, Comedy Monday night. Oh, Calgary, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go. Bye.
There we go. Okay, have a good one, Kathleen, and we'll talk in a couple days.
Sounds good.
Okay.